I've lived 1,000 lives. I've piloted 1,000 souls. I've killed and fought at night just for another role.
Happy Jackcast, a roundtable discussion that's a mix of friendship, humor, unbridled enthusiasm, and tabletop RPG topics sent in from around the world.
Just for another role.
Hello, and welcome to Season 34, Episode 19 of the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. My name is Kimmy.
I'm Eli.
I'm Jason.
And
I'm Chris.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Chris. Sorry. I just told you how to do that. And I already messed
Did
up.
it exactly as we asked.
So perfectly.
And Kimmy stepped on it.
I did. I messed it up. But yeah, and Chris, thank you, Chris, for being here. And we're going to talk about who you are and why you're here and what makes you famous in just a minute. Today in today's episode, I'm cool, everything's fine. Steffi from Scotland asks about epic campaign endings with freeform play. Sean from New Jersey asks how to trap players without railroading them. And from the archive 2017, Chris asks if riffs would be a good choice to keep his 9-year-old interested.
Nope. Oh, what?
Right?
Sorry.
If you'd like to contribute a question or story to the show, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. Or you can post in the mailbag channel on the Discord. We're doing a little bit better, but yeah, definitely if you've got thoughts or feelings or stories or vibes you want to share, please send them in, because I'm still a little stressed about content, friends.
And you know what, riffs is? We're going to have a conversation about that, don't
Oh, yeah. No, I know.
I was just kidding.
All right. Let's see. Announcements. Our new Die actual play Return to Rayless is in full swing. Check it out. It's actually at a new time at 10 a.m. Pacific on Fridays. So we have Lloyd, who's joining us and GMing from the UK. It's got Sam DeLev in it. It's got Vixie, who sadly has left LA, but also gets to continue joining our table. Jason's in the game. And also Noir is in the game, who was on the show recently. I have no conception of time, but it was in the last few weeks. It might have been last week. No. Week before last. There we go. So yeah, it's a very cool game and a very cool system. And it's really just very fun and dark. And all right, so we have another AP about tiny mice starting up. Probably near the end of the month.
Oh, good. They're starting that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't tell you a lot about the concept because it is very weird, and it does not match the system they're using. They have a very strange, unique concept.
Yeah.
It is about mice. Is all I can tell you.
I'm so excited for it.
That one's going to have Kai in it, and Terry, and Joey, and Bill, and it's going to be run by Artem. So that's going to get interesting very quickly. And just FYI, we'll be taking Thanksgiving week off for those of you in the U.S. You know when that is. For everyone else, that is Sunday the 24th. We will not be doing a show on Sunday the 24th. So, yeah, but we'll be back the week after that and still have the 25 episodes in the season like norm. All right. So, speaking of Chris, our October Indie Designer of the Month is Chris Sellers, they, them, who happens to be right here with us. Thank you so much. From Hectic Electron Games. Chris is a trans non-binary designer and one of the Horizon Fellows this year. Yeah, totally thrilled to have you apply. And it was very hard to be like impartial as I was like they're championing like the TTRPG designers.
So as a layman that doesn't know what a Horizon Fellow is, what is that?
Well, the GAMA is the Game Manufacturers Association, and every year they have a cohort of designers, 6 designers and publishers, and then 6 retailers that are from marginalized or underrepresented communities that they kind of sponsor to go to GAMA Expo and Origins, and we organize a big set of panels, and we set them up with a mentor. And there's a lot of like back-end spreadsheeting stuff. Guess who does that this year?
I love a back-end spreadsheet.
Me. You especially love my back-end spreadsheets. They're the best back-end spreadsheets ever. But anyway, yeah, I love me a good spreadsheet. But yeah, so I'm kind of the den mother of that also this year, because we all know how much I love to den mother also.
Mm.
Almost as much as I love good back-end spreadsheets.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, sorry, Chris, back to you. So it's very exciting. Out of, like, I think we had over 160 people apply this year, something very lot. Chris was one of our 6 publisher fellows that was chosen.
Awesome.
So very excited.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Yes.
congrats.
And I was
Thank
joking.
you. Thank you. I'm very excited.
I was joking about championing, but it was actually like a very thorough process with lots of people and a whole like spreadsheet with like different people rating different answers with the names removed and all this stuff. So it was very complicated, but yeah, we're very excited about your stuff, Chris. And
Yay.
but last week we talked about Raccoon Sky Pirates, which is kind of like your runaway amazing hit that everyone loves. And this week we're going to talk about Defy the Gods, which is, I'm going to read the pitch and then you can actually talk about it. A queer sword and sorcery adventure romance. Enter a sun-baked world ruled by jealous gods and tyrants who want to destroy you. A single sword stroke or a kiss can change everything. I feel like I'm sold just with like that line. That is a fantastic
Yep.
line. Explore the ancient, trackless cedar forests and the wine-dark seas, home to gigantic creatures and watchful ruins of a lost Atlantis. Win hearts, then spend them to tempt or help each other. It's powered by the Apocalypse game in the mold of Thirsty Sword Lesbians and Apocalypse Keys. Burn brightly and hold fast to each other's hearts as you spiral upward towards your most glorious, monstrous self. Very good. Like, those are all like very nice. I had someone who's like struggled with writing pitches for my PPTA game in the last year. That's very well done. So
Thank
Chris-
you. You're very kind.
it is kickstarting in early 2025. So,
Awesome.
or not kickstarting, but like crowdfunding. Sorry,
Yeah.
crowdfunding.
Kickstarting, I decided after talking to my Horizons mentor, and I'm currently slating it for March 1st.
Nice.
I don't want
Awesome.
to overlap with Zine Quest,
Oh, yeah.
but it's hard when that is like right when I wish I could be writing it.
Yeah.
But anyway, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
And-
for the kind words on the pitch.
No
That was
problem.
like you if you just write it enough times, it's like eventually you
What,
find good words.
Yeah.
What made you want to make this game?
I was getting really fed up with and just sort of bored with Western medieval European based fantasy. I've done it. I've loved it. But I was over it, and I was trying to find something more just fresh and different. And I was thinking about Conan and thinking about like how to do all that wild psychotronic sexiness
I've
from
also thought
these
about kissing
80s
Conan.
movies.
Yeah.
And then I rewatched Princess Mononoke, and I was like, this is kind of sword and sorcery. I mean, it's not sword and sorcery. And and that just got me even more fired up for it. But I was sort of reaching around, fumbling around for something that felt new and fresh, and I kind of fumbled my way toward sword and sorcery, but make it gay.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And you can get the alpha documents right now, right, on your website?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's an almost completely illustration-free Google Doc that you can get to through my website. That is totally playable, quick start. That people have had a lot of fun with. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally
We've
cool.
already got our chat is losing their minds about this. But I did just want to point out, listeners, you heard it here first. Chris Sellers officially says Dungeons and Dragons is hot garbage and no one should play it. And you're garbage for liking it, is what I heard Chris say. That's
Is it?
I don't think that's what happened. Jason.
We all know how reliable a narrator Jason is. Yeah, and I really love the art for this game. I was actually chatting with you like while I was making the show notes before the show, but like it is so cool. And so go check it out. And check it out. Yeah.
the promo image is by Talia Schellen, and she's a French artist who just does these amazing, really hot gay monsters.
Amazing.
And she just really knocked it out of the park with that image of these three adventurers confronting this enormous goddess that looks sort of like the Queen of the Night from the Bernie relief. And now she's working on character portraits for the 6 starting playbooks, and they are just gorgeous, just amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. How did you find her?
I was looking around Tumblr, you know?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, just trolling Tumblr and looking for keywords like gay monsters.
For work.
Yeah. For work. I could expense that.
Not anything weird.
No.
Hey,
No,
we don't
not
kink
weird.
shame.
That's good.
I mean, like, yeah. It's actually it's been weird making something so sexy because Raccoon Sky Pirates, totally different. Just
Not sexy?
Not the way I play it.
and that is, you're right, as an American. Yeah, like it's cute, it's funny, it's chaotic and messy, and a lot of player improvisation. With a lot of prompts for that. But it's raccoons raiding a suburban house, and then I've been building a brand through my newsletter that is really kind of sunshine and rainbows. Very sweet. I'm trying to really give people good vibes in the newsletter. A sort of idealized gaming table, and then this game is just so sexy. It's been and I mean I'm leaning into it, with a lot of safety tools, but sexy and violent and ambivalence about power, not ambivalence, horror about power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, let us know if you want to run a one shot of it. We'd love to have you
Oh
do
my
that for us.
God, yes.
I want to
Okay.
play it.
Yeah, I mean, this
Yeah.
is why.
Yeah.
To help
Yeah.
you, but also because we want to try it. So what was it about, like we're deep in the PBTA world here. What was it that you didn't find in other games that you wanted, that was the impetus for you making this game?
I ran through so many mechanics before coming back to PBTA. I think I was interested in making a PBTA game without really thinking it was going to be this game.
Mm-hmm.
I for a while it was going to be a token-based game where you're building a bag with these different tokens and all. But I have for a long time been fascinated by PBTA's ability to emulate a genre, a story genre, and steer you toward it, and steer you toward these interesting moments that I would never have in a regular mechanics front game, like just heartbreaking moments sometimes. And I thought I got to make at least one PBTA game and try to do that and try to figure out what's really behind it.
Yeah.
Because that's really tough. It's relatively straightforward, I think, just to figure out your 3 or 4 stats and make some playbooks and give them. I mean, it's hard. I have to say, it's very hard. But if you just want to make another PBTA game, it's well-trodden ground. You can do it. But I wanted to kind of understand why it works,
Mm-hmm.
and that just kept being fascinating.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's very easy to reskin PBTA. It is much
Right.
more difficult to dig in and make something new or something unique with PBTA that really captures the heart or whatever it is of what you want to design. That's a whole nother thing, and it's quite the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you describe as like the heart of your game? Like what, like pulling off like the setting and all that stuff. Like what is your game like really telling stories about?
So mechanically, the heart of it is the roll too high mechanic that I borrowed from the Apocalypse Keys, which borrowed it from Liberté,
Mhm.
um, where in my game you can roll a miss. So you roll plus some number, 0 to 3 usually, and you can roll a miss, 7 or less. You can roll a perfect success, 8 to 10, or you can roll a monstrous success,
Mhm.
a burning success of 11 or more, and that's where you get more than you bargained for.
Got it.
And it can give you a currency fire that can lead you closer to a sort of glorious monstrosity where
Yeah.
so that's the heart of the game. The heart of the game is and thematically the heart of the game is um, struggling, striving in this world against the world forces that make the world, that rule the world,
Mhm.
the pantheon of gods and city rulers and the wild beasts in the forest or the river valley and the shadow of Lost Atlantis that wants to live again, and death in the underworld, and these things that are all sort of hemming you in from these different sides, and um, and you're struggling against those. And as you get more and more of those rolling too highs and get more of that fire, you get closer to overcoming those forces by becoming a world force in your own right. And so you win by losing, by becoming a monster, and then you become your character stops being playable at the very end of this long arc,
Oh,
where the GM takes them over and says, okay, well, this is one of the forces in the world. Um, so thematically, it's about that, and it's a very queer struggle. I mean, there's also borrowing Thirsty Sword Lesbians uh, uh, strings mechanic,
mhm.
which is hearts in this game, where you're winning hearts and spending them,
Oh,
so you're
neat.
influencing each other.
That's
Um,
cool.
I love that.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah. So that becomes part of it, where those parts can redeem you from these monstrous moments. Um, and that tension between human hearts and immortal glory is really at the heart of the game.
That's cool. I
That's
love
the
that you used Liberté as an inspiration. Like, I feel like it's a very overlooked PBTA game
Yeah, it is.
that is so. I mean, I don't think I could ever actually play it because I struggle with like kids in any kind of sad or harm situation as like an actual mom. But yeah, I pulled a lot of inspiration from that in different times in designing too. And yeah, I always get excited when someone mentions it. I'm like, yeah.
I mean, it is great. I never would have known about it if Ray Najati had not uh, uh, cited it in Apocalypse Keys.
Hmm.
I can't say I've played it, but I've read it, and it is intense.
Yeah, yeah,
And
it
it's
is
wild
very
to see
intense.
where Ray gets that from. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Liberté is a PBTA game where it's like a dead city and all the adults are gone and you're like children trying to survive, and it's like constantly raining. It's just like if someone was like, I'm gonna write a game that is all the stuff that's gonna mess with Kimmy,
Mm.
like that's what it would be. Is like these poor kids all by themselves trying to survive.
Mm.
They'd just be like, oh, but it is very well designed and very well done. And yeah, so
Cool.
it's very cool. If you're into that, check it out. And if you're honestly just into PBTA design, like also check it out for that because it's really
Yeah.
cool for that.
It's so elegant. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, super good. And I think that's the difference. Like there, we have a like running gag on the podcast where we call it, oh, it's PBTA with a hat. Oh, it's D&D with a hat. Where it's like someone basically kind of reskins it and adds on more, and it's not necessarily better. It's just like more. So it's like finding that adding new things but keeping it elegant is like the big challenge with every system, but especially like PBTA. So, oh, uh, we don't always talk about chat, but right now we have Bumbletrue in chat, and they already have their first player when eventually they run Defy the Gods. They're already getting a group together.
Yay.
It's very good.
Thank you, Bumbletrue.
Yeah.
Bumbletree, I don't see my message
You're not
inviting
getting
me
invited.
to join.
Oh, I got mine. Thanks, Bumble.
Oh, look, I got invited too. Look at that.
Damn it. Well, I'll prove why I didn't get invited.
Yeah, we're gonna know in a minute, like
Go for it.
exactly. All right, so thank you so much, and yeah, I'm super excited. If you haven't gone and checked out the art for Defy the Gods and like download the thing, go ahead and do that now. You can go to hecticelectron.com and download the alpha documents and check it out, and also see the beautiful art and find out more about the game. And it will be kickstarting in early March 2025. That's so exciting.
That's right.
That is really exciting.
Yeah. So cool.
All right.
Breathe, friends, breathe.
From the mailbag.
From the mailbag number 1.
Greetings, celebrated Overlord Kimmy and bystanders. It is I, Steffi of Scotland.
Okay, the Scotland you got, everything else sounded very Russian. I mean, it's like medium Russian.
Here to answer plea for emails. Usually I bring my ego. All right. Usually I bring my ego, my unpopular opinions. By the way, you're welcome, Steffi.
Yeah, and that's why you weren't invited to the game.
Is why. Yeah. Usually I bring my ego, my unpopular opinions, and a sick burn to Jason to these pleas. Yep. Note to self, come back and put in a witty comment on whether I did any of these and why it's the Jason one. Yeah. My usual campaigns are limited with a set goal for the PCs to achieve or gasp fail. I have a number of reasons for this, including preventing burnout, helping the players judge their long and slow burns without my input, and not just finishing a campaign, but giving it a satisfying ending that involves all the players' arc. The goal usually ends up as the classic, stop this big bad evil git. Recently, I have been playing in a more free-form, open-world game, and I want to do that. For a couple of years now, I've been thinking about how to run Westmarches-style games in masks to give players the freedom to dip in and out. With both, I'm hesitant, with the ending being such a question mark. It's not that I normally have the entire session prepped at the beginning of the campaign. I have framing prepped, pacing prepped, the BBEG prepped. I feel that this kind of goal does not cater to this kind of play. What makes this BBEG more worthy of a finale than last arcs? Why does that one player who rarely checks his Discord and missed going up for the final, Jason, lose out on defeating the big bad that he came up with all those sessions ago? I don't remember that. It feels that the ending has to be more. It needs to give all the players and their PCs a satisfying close. In Westmarches, there has to be a series of finales for everyone to have that moment. In more long-term games, there needs to be emotional climax. Pause for childish giggling. Thank you. I was about to make a comment.
You said climax.
I thought it was the childish part.
I think it was the climax.
Yeah. It was.
Am I the only one childish enough tonight to actually get the joke?
That's what. Yes. I was making a joke about not getting the joke.
Yeah, I know. Oh, okay. I'm glad you
Jason,
explained that. That
explaining?
made it funnier.
Yeah. Jokes are better when explained.
Yes, especially when yeah. I'm here for you, Steffi. I got it. Yeah. All right.
I am thinking of other media, especially those who weren't canceled early and how they wrapped. The best example I could think of is Buffy. Spoilers for dated show, where, okay, everyone ready for your 20-year-old, 25-year-old TV show we're going to have a spoiler. Okay, here we go. Where the finale didn't just defeat the BBEG, but the Hellmouth, the mystical MacGuffin in geography that, from the very beginning, was the reason the show was set where it was. The story of this group fighting monsters that the Hellmouth summons is over. The survivors can go elsewhere to finish their personal stories, having grown and bettered themselves from what they overcame fighting these monsters. Of course, TTRPGs and trad media are not one for one, and something like that would be difficult to plan while giving your players freedom. And this wasn't even planned on Buffy, as the show was meant to end 2 seasons earlier. Yes, but it can be done with TTRPGs. I gesture vaguely at one of the games Jason ran, not wanting to risk spoiling it. Also, Critical Role seems to be heading for that. I am captivated by this concept. Status change endings. Do the hosts have any... Oh, I get it. Okay. Status change ending. Do the hosts have any thoughts on this or other ways to wrap long-term or West Marches games in a rewarding manner, other than the prep less Steffi on the Discord?
Yeah. And now just to clarify, like West Marches games are games that where things only happen when the players interact with it, right?
Well, it's the idea that you have lots of people, like more people than
You have a
you would
rotating
all...
cast of players.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah. Rotating cast. Not everybody
So, like,
shows
troop
up.
style.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a total sandbox. Played the sort of base setting is a hex crawl.
Mhm.
So that can be like the framing device for dungeons or for other things that you get into. And yeah, it's meant to allow for different players and different characters. It's not necessarily one-to-one either, to rotate in and out.
Got it. That makes sense. Interesting.
So, I don't know which one Steffi was saying I ended. I ended a session well, I think, is what they're saying. She's saying.
I think this is a little bit harder, and I think it would be harder to do completely freeform.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is one of the things where you have to kind of play, if you're going to do like a campaign this way and you want to have like a finale. I mean, if you're having people if not everybody's able to go to the finale, then yeah, I would assume you'd have multiple ones so everyone can play in a finale.
Yeah.
Because that would really be terrible if you're like, okay, we've got 9 people who play this game, but only the first 6 to sign up get to actually do the finale.
It seems like it'd be really hard to have multiple finales.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like splitting the party would be the only way to do that. They like both have to do a separate part of the cool
You need a
finale.
world that's big enough to have multiple BBGs so that they defeating one doesn't put the whole land at peace.
I wonder if players in a West Marches campaign want that or are looking for that from that style of campaign. Like, I think of that as... What's that?
If they want to climax at all?
Or if they are expecting like a grand finale, right? Because I think of signing up for West Marches campaign, I'm like, oh, this is great. I can participate casually, show up when I can, do what I can, but it's not a big commitment. I'm not there for every episode. I'm not there for every session. I'm not there to be part of every scene. I'm there when I can, right? And that's cool. That's like a great flexible way to play, but it also means I think I would feel less invested in the overall arc or the big story. Like, I care about this episode or session, and I'm not sure I would be looking for a big wrap-up finale because I wasn't there for half the sessions anyway, and some inside jokes I know, some inside jokes you don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know that I would feel strongly about that.
I think I would if I played long enough, like, especially for something like that. And I think one of the things you'd have to do is you'd have to fight against that by planting seeds, like, along the way. Like you're talking, like, Steph, you're talking about freeform games where, like, the characters come up with the big bads and those things. You can do that, but you can also, like, whenever you decide who your big bad is, whether you came up with it or the players came up with it in their backstory, you then need to start doing my absolute favorite part of GMing, which is weaving stuff between all of them. Like, pull this mystery person from this person's backstory, and suddenly that you make it so that was the big bad. You just start, like, stitching all these things together where, like, the big bad had an experience with everyone who's playing.
Yeah. And the answer here is not prep less.
No.
This is a high prep game.
Yeah.
Like you'd
No.
have to be better at it than I am.
And it's not.
I mean-
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, just if you want to have an arc, if you want people to just be constantly running into a dungeon of the week,
Yeah.
then it could be low prep potentially. You could prep everything from random roll lists. But if you want to have an arc, I mean, this is one place where Powered by the Apocalypse is great because the characters have baked in arcs in the mechanics. It means it only goes for 12 sessions maybe, but it's West Marches I don't think of as having an arc.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to, there's a lot of prep.
Yeah,
Like you
I think-
you got to pay attention to every little thing.
Yeah,
that people
that's what I was
offer.
trying to get at. Is I don't have that sense of arc when I'm signing up for a West Marches campaign. Also, I need to put Kimmy on blast a little bit because I think you would sign up for a West Marches campaign saying, "Oh, cool, I'll casually participate in this,"
Yeah.
and then go every week and build a wiki and make sure everyone's coming and organize who's bringing which snacks.
Yeah, probably.
So, like, you've never participated in something casually in your life.
That's 100% true. I would either do that or I would like ghost the third week, being like, "I'm so sorry, I'm too busy to do this."
Yes,
Um,
those are the options.
those are the two.
So, for you to imagine what it would be like to participate casually is maybe.
Agreed.
Because could there be like a story finale and then like Dungeon of the Week finale as like a thing? Like if there's somebody that's just a group of them that are just like what Jason was saying, like, hey, I'm just here to beat up bad guys, and then they're just like just get through all that, and then if there's some that are like totally entrenched in the story, they could be like, hey, like come to this one and we'll get everything that you have figured out sorted.
Yeah.
I think so. I did a lot of this with like my One Ring campaign. I think what I would do up like at the jump before, like when we first were making characters, I would have some questions set. Like, there's a shadowy figure from your past. What did they do to you that you remember? Or like have like 4 questions. Maybe you won't use all of them, but all of them could then be used as threads to tie between characters that you could tie to an eventual big bad. So you start having those right away. And then you kind of play for a while. You can kind of do the Dungeon of the Week, whatever you're doing. And then that's when you start using that information. Or if none of it works for like what you're doing, then you start having interactions with the big bad that becomes a thing.
You know what would be cool is like a big list of those types of questions that like ask you something about your character. Or like maybe you could put it like
A
in a deck of
questionnaire.
cards or something.
Yeah.
And then just like draw a card when you need to ask a question, and then like boom, there it is.
Jason's pandering.
Maybe if it was an any winning game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kimmy made a game called Decima, and I'm
It's tarot
It's
based.
amazing.
It basically creates backstory and drama between all the players and all the characters. Not the players. Well, I mean, I guess it could between the players. Who knows? But yeah, he's adding me quietly. Thank you. But I think what I would do for the big bad, completely inspired by video gaming, is I would have 2 parts of the big bad fight, where 2 things had to be accomplished at the same time to defeat the big bad, and you would do it as 2 separate like episodes.
but people can't sign up for that casually.
No. You'd have to be like, okay, hey,
No.
this is our last session. Everyone picks one of these 2 days. If you want to fight the big bad head on, here. If you want to save the little town or plant the bomb in the dungeon or whatever it is, like whatever the second tier. I'm thinking because like a lot of the raids in World of Warcraft that I spent way too many hours of my life doing, you had multiple components that you had to do at the same time. Like you couldn't just blast the big bad. Some of them you did.
Yeah.
But you had to do these other things too. Some of them were really fun and super exciting. So I think it would be interesting if you had both of these things happening in the fiction simultaneously, even though they're happening on separate nights, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So then go ahead.
I was just thinking that it's the kind of thing where you're gonna have to have some flexibility so that you can let the players shake out. So that some of them are Dungeon of the Week folks and some of them are big story folks. And it's like it's it's like it's going to be one of those slippers that forms through your foot. You know, it's like
Mhm.
the game's going to form to
Yeah.
the players, and it's going to become organic. Like, but I love that World of Warcraft reference because designing something for massively multiplayer play, I think it has a lot in common with designing a sandbox
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
adventure
Yeah.
campaign. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one thing I think,
And oh, go ahead.
one thing I would think about too is I think if one person's in Dungeon Crawl A and another person who they've had this big old long storyline can only make Dungeon Crawl B, like, maybe they won't get that emotional catharsis with ending
Right.
their storyline. So I think that'd be another thing to think about is maybe have the do stuff sessions and then whoever wants to end their storylines have another session on the back end
Mm-hmm.
just so you can get everything out.
Yeah. And
Mm.
epilogues are also super great for that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, because I love drama. Like, I
Mhm.
love that. If they, like, oh, they had crushes on each other and they never said anything. Oh, but we both signed up for 2 different nights, so now we can't have a romantic moment. And, like, one of them dies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then that other character's like, I never got to tell. Like,
Mhm.
now for the rest of my life, I'm going to carry around a small piece of their armor, like,
Mhm.
for the love that was unrequited. Or maybe
Yeah.
it wasn't. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like you can start weaving even those like
Mhm.
scheduling conflicts into great like story beats
Yeah.
if you really just like think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it also is one of those things where for a finale, sometimes you have to break out of the normal schedule
Mhm.
and be like,
Yeah.
okay, like if the two of you really want to be on the same night, let's pick a night for this. Like finales, I feel like they get special treatment as far as scheduling because
Right.
it's like, we play every Tuesday night. And everyone's like, well, this Tuesday I can't make it. Well, too bad you missed the finale after 3 years of playing. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, that seems like a jerk move.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's also kind of an interesting thing. Like, as a player, I'd have to think about, okay, do I want to go with them? Like, and have us, like, fight the big bad together and then declare our love?
Mhm.
Or is it more interesting if the whole time we're worried about the other person
Mm.
and
Yeah.
how they're doing?
Um,
Right? Like I wonder if
Yeah.
they're okay. No, I need to focus on my work right now. I can't be thinking if they're okay. I wonder if they're okay. Like, I feel like that's a great story too.
I struggled so much just like with the top down concept of this where not everyone's going to be there every time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, certainly playing the game, one person can't make it. Okay, we're going to push ahead and your character has the flu. Like, that's fine. We'll figure it out. But the operating, like the West Marches campaign, I'm glad people are finding happiness with that. I can't plug my brain into it, and I'm trying really hard to understand it. But it, the idea of this mix and match crew every week, and then having some sort of cathartic, emotionally satisfying. Like, if you were watching a TV show and there were 10 awesome characters on the show and they just randomly put them together, okay, you could tie that together because you're scripting a show. But I don't know. I would just be like, wait, I thought they were a main character and they haven't been here for 2 episodes. Like, where's my favorite character? And I don't know. It seems alien to me.
Yeah, well, I think Steffi said that she's using it for masks. And I think masks was actually a really great choice for this because it's based on comic books. And anyone who's read The Avengers or Justice League or Teen Titans or any of this stuff, like, you've got, like, your main characters, but then people cycle in.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many members of the Justice League. And honestly, there are so many members of Teen Titans, too. Like, there are so many of them.
Right, but if you're not the core cast, right, are you looking for the cathartic grand finale?
Well, yeah, but I think that's the thing is you have to... in the fiction of the Teen Titans or whatever, like, Robin's kind of the leader, but there's no one else who's more important than, like, others, necessarily. Like, you've got your heavy hitters, you've got, Raven, you've got the people who each have different powers, and they're sent on missions based on their power set.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're
Yeah.
living in that world, you're not seeing the same people every single week, like the person reading the comic book. Does that make sense?
What would you want to do in masks? Like, how would you want to handle influence?
Influence?
I
You mean the
usually-
masks mechanic
Yeah.
of influence?
I usually skip that anyway. But
Well, no, but I mean,
That's a pretty
it's-
big
it-
chunk of the game, and it can affect dice rolls. And
Yeah.
if my influence is over Chris, but Chris can't be there that week, and I just suddenly don't have this relationship because I'm the bull or whatever, like, that totally changes how I'm playing the character.
yeah, but you
It
don't.
does,
yeah.
but your character still has an arc that
Yeah.
they're working
Yes.
toward, and
Yeah.
each character could potentially. I haven't done this. God, I've never even played West March's games, but I it seems like each character could reach their arc independently of the others. But yeah, you want to, with the team mechanic and the influence mechanic, you ideally want those people around.
Yeah.
See, like, I mean, if it was like someone who isn't around a lot, like if someone who's on a very different schedule than you, then eventually you're just not going to have influence on them anymore. You'll get influence on people who are playing with you more regularly, mechanically.
True.
Because that's just how that mechanic works. And especially because it's teenagers, like, oh man, if you have influence or a relationship with someone and they're not around, what are you going to talk about with all the other characters? Oh my gosh, can you believe Billy's not here right now? I wonder if he's thinking about me. I'm thinking about him. Like, I feel like if you have players who lean into it, that you can make that work. Because the influence isn't, and the relationship isn't gone.
Yeah.
It's just that,
But
that
see,
character's gone.
I really, I have a pet peeve about, like, Eli can't join us this week, so we're going to play the game. And we all need to agree, like, Eli's character has the flu or whatever. Not like, where's Eli's character?
Oh, yeah.
We have to go look at, like, taking this out of game fact that Eli's busy and can't do it and turning it into this in-character meta problem. Like, that's a huge pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
And so if it's, I'm creating this character drama because Sally, who plays that character, can't be here this week.
Oh yeah, that's not what I meant.
That feels weird.
Yeah.
But that's West Marches, right? Only 5 people get to sign up, and Sally didn't sign up in time, and that's the only reason she's not there that week. It feels strange to me.
Right. Well, that's when you
Yeah,
have
so
to.
like,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, masks and character drama, it just doesn't really jive with West Marches.
See, I think it could. And again, like, because it's superheroes. Because it's not like some drama. It's like, hey, we were sent on this mission. And whoever is your, like, cool principal based on Wonder Woman, like when I ran masks.
Yes.
Like, they were like, okay, you and you, this is your mission for this week. So you would have to have it be more episodic.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you
Yeah,
send...
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and so then it's like so-and-so is like training that day or on another mission. And it wouldn't necessarily be like, or, you know, it's like, it's, the drama wouldn't be that they aren't there. The drama, unless it's, I mean, it can be, but not because of like, oh, they're not here because they're lost. It's like, I can't believe I'm not on a mission with the person I have a crush on. I really wanted to be on the same mission for once, and Mrs. Val, like, didn't do that, and blah, blah, blah. Like, so I feel like you could ratchet up the teen drama.
Yeah, and I guess if you have a mechanic in there that says, when you all are sent on a mission, they're on a mission too, and they're off on another part of the world, and that's why they're not, like,
Yeah.
if that is like a good, like, actually that's something that if you were doing Xavier School for Gifted Youth,
Yes.
as a format,
Yeah.
right, then
Or maybe
certainly.
even worse. Maybe they're not on a mission. Maybe they're sitting in the cafeteria with that other pretty girl,
Mm,
and they're eating lunch together.
but I'm the prettiest.
Superheroes are so good for this because, like, they could just have class.
Yeah.
Like,
And you're not in
I-
class,
yeah.
and you know that they're going to be lab partners since you're not there today, but you have to go save, you know, the UN building. Why don't adults have better priorities? You know,
Okay.
I don't know. I could feel like,
Okay. I'm
ready to play this right now.
I know, right?
I'm wrapping my head around it.
And no, I don't think it would work for everything. Like, I feel like Mask specifically, because it is this superhero, you can lean into that, and the drama between the characters gets better when teenagers are far apart. As someone who's
Yeah.
worked with teenagers.
I just feel like as soon as I personally miss a session,
Yeah.
I am immediately going to become less invested in what's happening with the story.
That's
And
hard.
I think that's maybe a personal flaw of mine.
Yeah.
Of like, well, if it's not about me, why does it matter?
Yeah. I
My
think,
megalomania.
for something
I
like
think
that. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Oh no, sorry. I was just gonna say, a good GM will make the next game about the person who missed the last one.
Yeah.
The next game they're in, make it really gear it toward them.
Yeah. And fill in that blank.
Yeah.
Like if they're talking
Mhm.
about, oh, the super cute boy who I'm supposed to be lab partners with is now going to be lab partners with someone else. Like I would open the next session with, okay, hey, super cute boy, who is your lab partner? Did you enjoy yourself? What grade did you get? Like, and then that drama, and then so when the people return, like that part is filled in, and then that drama pulls in the people who missed the session or whatever. You know what I mean?
I wonder if anyone has really demonstrably addressed what the syllabus and like class mechanics at Xavier School would be. Like, what is their late policy? You know, if you miss the lab, do you not have to do it? Or do you have to do it late and stay up late and finish this homework assignment? Like, we've got two school teachers at the table here, and
Charles Xavier is a hard ass.
Yeah.
You know, that's all I'm gonna say.
yeah.
But anyway, I feel like there are definitely PBTA games and stuff this wouldn't work as well for. But I think if you really lean in on the will they, won't they drama, all that stuff, and then you would have to have it so like it's episodic, so there's a single mission each session to kind of keep a clean ending point and starting point each session. But I think it would be doable.
Yeah.
So I can't speak for necessarily other games. I honestly think this would be more. I mean, honestly, because I just don't like straight dungeon crawl games very much. I feel like this would be a lot more interesting for me than a West Marches game in like D&D or something where it's just like, okay, this week you are a group of mercenaries, and every week you get sent out to kill a different monster.
Sure.
Like, cool. I don't know. That's just me. So anyway, I don't know if that made any sense. But Stephanie, or Steffi, sorry, I don't know why I called you Stephanie. Steffi,
Rude.
please. I know, rude. Sorry. I have one in my class, so I occasionally let's pop out. I also occasionally call them all Laurelyn because that's my kid's name, Chris. So like this one kid was being super annoying the other day. He's like, "Hey, teacher." I was like, "Laurelyn, stop." I mean, Arthur, please stop.
My full name growing up was Laura David Lisa Jason.
Yes.
Did the pets get worked in there? Cause
No,
that's
it was
like
just
our
the
house.
chronological order of children.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Any other thoughts on that email? Nope. All right. Mailbag number 2. Eli, I think you called this one.
I sure did. Hail and well met Empress Kimmy, long may she reign, and her wise and clever courtiers. Heeding the call for missives to feed the beast kept beneath the studio and forestall the end of times for a bit longer, I send this question. I am playing with an idea for a scenario or a short campaign that takes place within a Victorian-esque walled garden full of hedges, fountains, and the dreaded gazebo. Basically, a dungeon crawl in a garden. My concern is the players either climbing up the walls just to leave or forcing their way through hedges to bypass encounters. Without railroading them and saying, no, you can't do that just because I said so, how do I ensure that the players don't break out flying spells, grappling hooks, or absolutely commit to rolling athletics checks until they pass and climb over the top? Waiting with bated breath on your sage advice. Askew, aka Sean from New Jersey. P.S. Mandatory P.S.
Carnivorous plants.
Oh, that's a good one.
There was a podcast I was listening to that is totally not role-playing game related, but they started as a role-playing game one.
Okay.
And for their like 300th episode, they ran an adventure.
Oh.
And it was kind of like this. And where it was like hey, you guys are in this garden, you need to go do the thing. Like, you're poisoned, and if you don't do the thing, you're going to die. So the very first question the players asked was, hey, how do we get out?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, and I was thinking like, I think that'd be like the cool premise of what if you do let them out and now they have to go excavating around the city in this Victorian, still keeping your same genre and everything you want to do, but like maybe have some of the same sort of encounters entrenched where they're trying to find out who poisoned them and how to get cured so they don't have to necessarily feel as railroaded.
Right.
I think if it's a sorry, I'll just jump in and say
go ahead.
If it's a world with flying spells, I think you just say you're in the garden dimension. The whole world is a hedge maze. You know,
Mhm.
just lean into it, like
Yeah.
Cube or one of those movies.
Sure.
Yeah, I love that.
Also, you could just say the fly spell doesn't work.
Mhm.
Nobody take the fly spell, gang. For this one, don't prep fly. Don't waste a spell slot. Like, doesn't work.
Yeah.
And if the plants are carnivorous, then you can't throw a rope over it. You can't try to push through it. I mean, you will. You just disappear into the plant.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, like give lots of good reasons to be there and do the thing. And yeah, but I really want to hear about the carnivorous plants after the fact.
It's such a brilliant idea.
It is.
It really is a really good idea, though.
I guess, friends, the garden is what I prepped. Yeah, thank you, chat.
Yeah, I think having a combination of both, having deterrence for like trying things like climbing the edges, but also that motivation of like, hey, there's the princess at the end you have to save or whatever, and having whatever the reason is there, there were, God, I don't even know what it was. There was some cartoon that I have vaguely from my 80s child memory of it, like of a maze that kept getting bigger every time, like the heroes. I don't know if it was She-Ra or something. Probably, I watched a lot of like anything that had a horse in it. I watched, so there's a lot of fantasy involved. But like they were trying, and every time they like cheated, like the maze got bigger. Like, like I don't remember why or who it was or something, but like they were trying to get to the end to save, I think, a little horse. I don't know. And then like the maze kept getting, like they tried to do something that was like against the rules because it was like a Riddler or like magician like rip off idea. And like every time the first time they did it, like the maze got like bigger and got worse and harder, and there was more they had to do every time. So maybe like having some sort of thing like that.
Yeah, but I think it's okay to have games where like it's like the reverse or pre-lines and veils.
Yeah.
Right? It's the premise, right? Like, hey, we're gonna play a game where, like, the example I ran into recently was I was signed up to play a game where we knew we were going to be super spies. I was like, oh, cool, like Jason Bourne, whatever. And then somebody put hardline firearms.
Oh.
And I was like, are we going to play spies without guns? I mean, I could do that. I just want to, like, it seems like a weird thing to sign up for. And it turned out they meant something a little more nuanced than that, which was fine. But we had to get there, right?
Yeah.
We had to, they were like, what they meant was they didn't want to have anybody just like getting off on talking about guns, right? Which, okay. I get it, but when you say line as opposed to veil or use these tools differently. So, you know, I think if you at the top say, hey, this is a game about super spies, it's going to have cars and guns and violence and, you know, blood. And if we don't want blood and guts, that's fine. We could do James Bond violence versus, you know, whatever else. But I think if you did something like this and you're like, hey, guys, you're going to be trapped in a garden thing. It's going to be cool. Don't take the fly spell and other stuff because you have to go through the maze. Yeah. Right. And like, accept the premise, right? Like that's...
Yes, don't reject the premise.
Yeah.
Thank God. Yes.
Super important.
And if your characters want to then be like, oh, shoot, my fly spell doesn't work, like, you could play around with that a little bit in character-wise. But players, please, my friends who are at my table with me, please accept the premise that I'm offering you.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing right now.
Yes.
Just
and if they really do reject it, if for whatever reason your communication is that bad that they aren't on board with the whole adventure, like, roll with it and go, shed a tear for your hedge maze and go with whatever the players are offering back, and then have some conversation about communication.
Yeah. Definitely do that second part.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you have the hedge mage prepped, like hedge maze prepped. I mean, you might have a hedge mage prepped, and we all know how that goes every time. So badly. Long story, Chris. We'll catch you up later. But like, you can reskin it. Like that would like, okay, now you are in a jungle. And you don't have to worry about taking right or left hand turns. But I also like there's something for advocating for yourself and your prep. And
Yeah,
just being
that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like, hey,
Yeah,
I got a
for
cool
sure.
concept. Go with me on this. It's gonna be fun. Like, trust me.
yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, and even if they don't have 100% fun, like it's okay to have days that like are optimized to a player specifically. Like, and it, I hate topiaries. These are the thing I hate so much. You're like, okay, well,
And if your
bad.
character hates topiary, that's
That's
awesome.
amazing,
we
yeah.
can talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
that, right?
If
And
you-
now this one wants to eat you.
yeah,
Right? Like,
yeah. But if you, as the player, hate topiary, just suck it up for one night, or opt out and sit and hang out and drink beer.
do
or
we
go
have
home.
consensus on the carnivorous plants, though? That's like
It's
a
a very
must.
good idea.
I'm gonna
Right?
dissent for Steffi.
I feel like you need different
Oh.
like variations though. Like I feel like you should like some are carnivorous, some are like poisonous if you touch them, and like
And some just make you stink.
yeah, or
Some-
like
some
Some
eat your
reach out and grab
clothes.
you, and some are like the pitcher plant, where it's like a pit trap.
Yeah.
Mhm.
like I can like imagine like vines that reach out and like wrap around you and slowly like suck life force so you get
Yes.
older
Yeah.
as they pull it. Like there's
Yeah,
a lot of
there's a ton of fun you could have with it.
yeah.
And still be like, just don't get too close to the walls.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, this is the thing you got to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, very much like don't touch the walls vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The walls are lava.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of the, yeah. Okay.
I would love, by the way, to play in a game where the dreaded gazebo really was this.
Oh, yeah. Like the
animated
gazebo, like, grows
thing.
legs and
Mhm.
comes up on
Yeah.
this, like, spider leg
stalking
body.
after
And
you,
yeah.
eats you by enclosing you within it.
Yeah.
You know, so like it ate a band. At
It's a
some
mimic.
point.
A gazebo mimic. It's
Hey!
right there.
I feel like it
It's
needs to be
right
its own
there.
thing. Like a mimic is like not cool enough. I feel like it needs to be a specific gazebo monster.
But the gazebo can
Okay.
have all this food laid out in the middle
Or the
of it. and
gazebo's
it's
a
like,
plant monster that just looks like a gazebo.
oh, yeah.
See, you could just
And
have a
it's got a lure that is this band playing in the gazebo.
yeah.
Yep.
Like,
And like good lighting for cosplayers. And,
Yep.
Mhm.
Sorry, that's a very specific joke because there's a very famous spot at a big comic / cosplay convention where literally people wait in line for like 3 or 4 hours to take pictures in this one gazebo at the hotel because everyone has
God.
it has such good lighting and it's like now a famous spot where people take pictures.
That's funny.
So yeah, sorry, I have a lot of like gazebo. I'm like it turning into a monster and eating a bunch of cosplayers makes me laugh.
Love
But
gazebo.
Lucy
Yeah.
Sante
lay-
is
lore.
a trans author who recently read a memoir and said in it, people think that trans women want to be what they want most is to be accepted for who they are, but really they want to always be standing in good light.
Yes.
I feel that.
Yeah, I feel it. Yeah, absolutely. And you could do so much cool stuff with like fountains with like
Mhm.
these like
Yes.
beautiful like different like nereids or something like set in like
Yeah.
like and they're like made of stone or like metal and they're just like beating the crap out of you. It's very cool.
Yeah.
I want to play this now. I don't
Yeah.
usually like want to play like dungeon or fighting stuff.
Yeah.
Now I'm like,
I might just rip this off.
oh, Victorian like fighting. Do I get to wear the pretty boots?
Yeah.
Have a bustle? Okay.
Of course.
Oh my gosh, I could like have weaponry in my bustle,
Yeah.
but not guns evidently, because no firearms. That's so weird.
It,
Yeah.
it was a weird thing,
Yeah,
right?
that would be my like we talked about Liberté earlier. I was like, okay, I want to play Liberté, but I don't want any child harm or danger
Right.
or sadness. You're like,
or like if somebody's running Ghostbusters,
Yeah.
right? Like, okay, but no ghosts.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, is that cool if we don't have ghosts in the
Yeah.
story? Like, well, man, like, don't sign up for that
Yeah.
one.
read the assignment, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Mailbag number 3. Did you want to read it, Chris, or do you want me to?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll go. From the archive.
Yeah, from 2017.
2017. Oh my God.
Hey. On my increasingly difficult quest to keep my 9-year-old interested in role-playing games over Roblox or whatever the hell he's playing in there, I've tried several systems and genres. We've played Fate, which is problematic simply because it is way too open-ended and
I
hard for him to
agree.
focus.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We played D&D, which he likes fine but gets old after a while. We played PBTA, Monster of the Week, and Happiest Apocalypse on Earth. I haven't heard of, which is fine, but he burns out and doesn't want to do multiple sessions. We've even played Mage, which he likes quite a bit, but it's hard to play at the drop of a hat. Got into Savage Worlds, starting with Rippers, but he has difficulty with the time period. Finally, I did the unthinkable and talked to him about what would excite him. He's completely burned out on fantasy, but likes magic. His ideal setting is post-apocalyptic, his words, but with monsters and demons and magic, but also technology in the modern world. So I'm thinking, Rifts?
Dun, dun,
Now,
dun.
Rifts was my gateway RPG in the 90s, and I had many years of lots of fun and explosions using that utterly terrible system. I bought a ton of those terrible books, too, and loved every page of them, but my recollection of it was very violent.
Yep.
Kid and I play a lot of horror scenes in our fantasy games, and we tend to be delightfully gory, but it's different when we're talking modern weapons and war. I'm just not sure he's mature enough for some of those themes, especially since they've been out of our gameplay all this time. So I turned to the Facebook Savage Rifts community, and they gave me some very good advice on how to approach Rifts with kids. Most of the advice was about steering clear of the coalition states. I have no idea what this is. Making it more superhero-like and focusing more on exploration. It was also made clear that Savage Rifts isn't the Rifts of the 90s, and I was reminded that I need not the same way I did in high school. But I think the best advice I received was about keeping the G.I. Joe A-Team action movie feel going, where harm is action hero harm that you can just shake off, and bad guys are caught or they parachute away. I did the first session this past weekend, and I'm so glad we took the plunge. The game was absolutely a blast. I even had him draw monsters he'd want to encounter, and we used the books to stat them so he could fight his creations. That's very clever. There were lots of explosions, ATV and giant robot chases, and even some swashbuckling. The campaign is a road movie that starts in Wilderness, California. He drifted there from 2017, a Navy pilot playing a Mars build. Goes through the New West, Lone Star, and then eventually into Missouri to join Castle Refuge. I bought New West, Spirit West, and Lone Star for research, and I feel like a kid again. So after this long drawn-out email, any more thoughts about handling typically adult games with kids? Thoughts on violence in games with kids? Thoughts about keeping kids interested after they get bored with fantasy tropes? Hopefully Kimmy is there for this. Thanks, Jackers. Chris, the writer's Chris. P.S. Before you bring it up, yes, I did get masks. I'm reading it though, so I'm not ready to run it. That'll be next. PPS, bottoms up.
Oh, we don't have drinks. Dang it.
It's funny, like 2017 before Chris had played Masks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The good news
yeah.
is that now this 9-year-old is 16. And
Oh, ouch.
I would love to hear from this Chris. I don't know. But, y'all, just so there's no confusion, our guest, Chris, we made Chris read this letter from 2017 from somebody else named Chris.
Yeah, from Chris
it's hard
Gray.
for Chris.
It's hard to imagine multiple people being named Chris, but
Or Jason.
yeah, it's kind of a weird coincidence,
not
but
real.
that's the truth of the matter.
So good job. And so the coalition states are kind of like this like fascist imperial thing that, because it's all like post-apocalyptic and it's just weird. There's weird things. And Castle Refuge is at least how we played it was like run by fantasy dwarves, but with like modern weaponry in the main, in the main world. So it's this weird thing where like rifts have opened up, and they open up often. So all these things from different places end up on
Different realities.
Yeah. So you do
In post-apocalyptic real Earth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just wild. And like I played a cyber knight, so I had like a flamey cool sword, but also like technology. And there's just so much stuff. A lot of it is not appropriate for kids. But if you
It sounds very 90s, top to bottom.
so 90s.
The inappropriate for kids, the have your cake and eat it too, all these worlds merged together,
Yeah.
the post-apocalyptic frame setting, sounds very 90s.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not post-apo. Do you know what I'm going to say before I say it? If we're
I
talking
don't know.
about magic and guns, Shadowrun.
Oh, as a suggestion.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to talk about how that Rifts was not post-apocalyptic. I was like, no.
The
I'm
riffs
pretty
is whatever you
sure.
say it is.
I mean,
I'm not going to argue about that.
I don't know if it's Yeah, I mean,
But there are like areas in Shadowrun that you can treat as apocalyptic, right?
Yeah.
There's the barrens, there's all kinds of stuff. Now, it also not for kids, right? Not for 9-year-olds. Maybe 12 and up, and then you just sort of keep your story PG-13. And I will say, as a kid, I was 12 when I started playing Shadowrun when it came out in 1989. And I was interested in the guns, but I did not become a gun nut because of other factors in my life, like parenting and other stuff that was like, I understood how dangerous guns were and why they're fun in this context, but not others. So I don't necessarily think that's it sort of felt like that's what the letter was dancing around, was like, I don't want to get into all this mega violent stuff because I don't want my kid to be like enthralled with firearms or whatever.
Yeah.
And, there is a healthy attitude one can have around firearms. And Shadowrun is, I think, good fun and has some opportunities to put fantasy and Uzis together.
yeah.
I
think, yeah. Now, the actual 90s riffs is a hot mess.
Yes.
Don't touch it.
Yeah.
Savage riffs, Savage Worlds riffs, cleans it up a lot
Yeah.
and uses the Savage World system. It does a pretty good job of it. You get all the weirdness, but with a much more coherent system.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think riffs and Savage, not Savage Worlds, and
Shadowrun.
Shadowrun.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you. The S words get stuck in my brain. Have a lot of overlap as far as things that they could touch on, as far as fantasy, also mixing with hackers and modern technology, but also magic is a thing, and you can be an elf, and you could be a person, and you could be, all these different things.
Elves are people, Kimmy.
Yeah. Yes. I mean a human. I'm sorry. You don't have to tell me.
Wow.
Wow.
I am Ella Marine. Like, do not. All right. Sorry, I really like elves, Chris. It's like a lot. Like,
Okay.
huge Tolkien nerd. You can't
There's
put
so many
quite
different
it.
kinds of elves, but okay,
Yes,
you like
yes.
Tolkien elves.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and
Yeah.
like fantasy elves in general. But yes, but they are people, 100%. So I think there's a lot of like Venn diagram overlap with those two things that you definitely do have to have like the parental like filter for both. You don't, and both of these are systems that you do have to prep more for too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's probably not
And
not good that I was playing Shadowrun at 12 without an adult.
Yes.
But
That's just how it was back
Well,
then.
yeah.
I was discovering D&D at 12, first edition. Thank you.
Yeah.
And like that's this sort of pubescent, weird liminal state you're in, where like I think I was exactly the right age. And I think even for Shadowrun too, to just get into all the weirdness and the sort of encoded sexuality, encoded violence, and horror. I think 12 is good. 9 is a much harder age, and I think that is one where you really want to have the kid gloves on.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a big gap there. You're right.
And it was so brilliant, I think, to ask the kid what monsters they wanted to encounter and to
to
draw
them. Yeah.
So smart. And to do that, I think that's the best thing you can do is have the kid lead the conflict, and they can just give you seeds so that the kid is still there's still some dramatic tension. Actually, Defy the Gods does something like this.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
yeah, there's a world scene where in between adventures, when the time scale zooms out and the adventurers go their separate ways, you have an interlude scene where you flip the script and all the players play the representatives of one of the world forces.
Oh,
So the
hell
pantheon of
yes.
gods or the city rulers or the
Yes.
animals, whatever. And
Okay, so what's everyone doing this weekend?
but like, if you're doing it with 9-year-old kids, then that's even better, for a different reason, where they are telling you what tone they want to set.
Yeah.
And it's possible to do very lighthearted, fun tones in Savage Riffs. It absolutely is.
Yeah.
when we played our thing, Samantha played a teenage dragon. So she literally, like, she kept a journal the whole time, and that's where her actual taking notes in games started.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
she was
cool.
so angsty, and
Yeah, it was really like a diary.
it was a diary.
It was like a teenage
Diary,
girl
dear
diary.
diary.
Yeah,
And it was
but a massive
perfect.
dragon.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah, it was amazing.
How old is the player?
Oh, we were adults. No,
Yeah,
we were
all
total
adults.
adults.
Okay.
Like,
30-somethings.
I mean, now, like at the time, I think she and I were mid-20s when we played this. It was one of our first APs, so it was
Wow.
a
Oh,
long time
cool.
ago.
So I'm imagining very ironic heart eyes.
100%. She now, but she got started because, like, it was one of our first actual plays, and she was like a little nervous, so she started like taking notes to like stay engaged, and she made that part of that character. And now she has a thing where she takes notes, and she gets a different little journal for every AP and every game,
Yeah, it's
and they
really
match
sweet.
like the theme and her
Mhm.
character. It's very fun. So now she has like all these journals that are kind
And
of
that's
like,
like a fun keepsake.
yeah,
for her.
it's very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
It also helps all of us, like, so we know what happened last time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
In the
Um,
voice of Dear Dragon Diary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Oftentimes. So
cool.
it got very silly, and like Bill was like her like adopted parent kind of, or felt like he was, even though she was like, no, you're no, in the character.
Yeah.
So it was just like a very odd, silly, strange romp that you can have, like these lighthearted stories. You can even do that in Shadowrun. I've seen people do that in Shadowrun.
Yeah. It's not as lighthearted.
Yeah.
Just because it builds in socioeconomic strife, and there's
Evils of capitalism.
racism as part of it, and
That's very much
Well, I also
Ingrid's
think-
too.
That, like, it's your game, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yes, you can focus on what you want to focus on,
Right.
but like the stats that go into trolls reflect the like lack of education, right, that
Mhm.
is available to them and stuff like that. Like that's
Yeah, and I also think too.
I've never liked Shadowrun.
yeah.
Yeah, Shadowrun's awesome.
Hot take. I don't want elves in my cyberpunk.
You don't like Shadowrun. Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Or cyberpunk in my elves. I love them separately.
Yeah, that's
Sorry,
fair.
yeah,
That's fair.
That's okay.
I'm the lone sort of Shadowrun cheerleader on this channel. So
That's
yeah.
not true.
Oh.
I love Shadowrun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One of the things too is I think like just monitoring what your kids' intake is of whatever fantasy, comic books, whatever they're intaking, and maybe try to like morph that into something in the game to help keep them engaged. Like if they're starting to get more into like mechs, it's like, oh, start throwing in,
Yeah.
you know,
Or even offer to play in an IP
that
that
they
they're
like.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you're watching Mech Warrior. Let's play a Mech Warrior game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right? I'm like, maybe they'll get burned out on that because they're watching it and then they're playing in it and then they want the world to be updated based on the latest episode or whatever. Then that's a lot. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's you could play in the Buffy universe if
Yeah.
your kid's
Mhm.
into Buffy the Vampire Slayer, all that. But yeah.
Yeah. I think also, like, if you pick a system like Savage Worlds that has so many different setting books, that has so many different things that you can skin over it. Like there's a superheroes thing, and there's a pulp, book, and there's you can do this with all these different things. If you have the core of their play experience be that system, then it's really easy for you to jump with their 9-year-old attention span to, okay, we're going to do Indiana Jones today. Okay, and now today we're going to do,
Deadlands.
superheroes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I think, and then it doesn't have to be Savage Worlds. It seems like you are already trying Savage Rifts, so that there's already kind of that basis of understanding of how the die rolls and all that stuff work. But there are other, like, kind of more generic systems out there, or at least systems that have a lot of those tweaks already done for different settings.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, because 9-year-olds don't have a lot of attention span. They don't, as someone who taught them
Yeah.
for many, many years.
What's the best system to use with 9-year-olds? I mean, obviously there's a big cognitive range
Yeah.
of 9-year-olds, but like D&D seems like not where you want to start. In fact, I have a good friend who was running a game for his then 8-year-old daughter and her friends, and like they wanted to play D&D, and instead he did Dungeon World because he's like, you want D&D, you think you want D&D, but
Mhm.
I don't know. What do you all think? Would you nerf it?
Mm.
The mechanics complexity?
I feel that a good GM that knows a system well can make the system invisible. And I think that
Mhm.
that is ideal
Yeah.
for any experience. Like I've played GURPS with some incredible GURPS GMs that just made it so seamless and easy. And then like I start to read that book and I'm like, I do not understand this. This is written in English and there is math that I should understand. Okay, I'm just gonna play and hope I get a low number because that's all I understand about the system. So and like Champions, it's kind of the same.
Yeah, for young kids. So here's the thing about D&D. I like it for what it is as a fantasy combat simulator. I think it's pretty good at that. You know, like if you want to
I
get
agree.
minis out and that can keep kids engaged and, you know, put a big old monster on the board and suddenly everyone's like, oh my God. You know, that it can be very visual, and as complicated as D&D is, it also has the deepest, most comprehensive tools online that, you know, if you could sit your kid down with the iPad and D&D Beyond,
Yeah,
it's all there, right? Like
that's a good point.
it's very approachable, even rolling digital dice so they don't have to fumble or figure out which die is which or whatever until they're feeling more engaged and want to find out about it because they don't know that they care, right? They're like, why do I need to know all of this level stuff when I don't know what the point of this is, which is tell cool stories with your friends.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm gonna put on my mom hat for just a second and be like, kids already are getting too much screen time. If you're gonna sit down to play an RPG, well, there are some who need that accommodation or maybe for accessibility purposes. Like, I personally, if it was like my kid, would be like, hey, we're playing on paper with real dice because mama's got way too much dice and we better like use it because you've been playing with it since you were 3 and you didn't swallow any of it. So here's your chance. Good job, Laurelyn. You get to roll the dice in a game this time.
But then you really have to do that work that D&D Beyond is doing of eliding the rules that
Yeah.
you don't need to see.
Yeah, like I think
Because it is good for
the
that.
value of D&D Beyond is that it makes all that, it flattens all that, right?
Right.
And you can get to the table and just do the thing you want to do instead of having to go, okay, well, roll my strength or strength save. You know, like there's a lot of it that's really confusing, but if you could just sort of point to the tablet and say, don't open YouTube right now, go here.
Right.
It's
But you also get then reading comprehension practice. You get quick like arithmetic and math
yeah,
practice.
what every kid is looking for in
Right.
sitting down. Like if you could get them engaged in what the game is,
Mhm.
you'll trick them into all of that.
But not if
You
they're
have
using the
to take them-
tablet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they will. They'll be like, oh, I can read this. I'm looking at this number and now I'm into it and now I want to find out more about it.
Okay.
I think.
Yes. I see. For me, it's like, hey, you asked to play this game. This is how we're gonna play it, and there's some math involved, but you asked to play it. So, like, if you can, if they already, excuse me, have that buy-in, then I think that's an opportunity to get them to stretch those muscles and use those skills in a way that engages them. I don't
It
know.
sounds like
Yeah.
a lab experiment that we need to run in the wild.
Yeah.
And it's also just a
Actual
difference
kids.
of like opinion too. And it could totally like, honestly, if I was running like a D&D program for like after school or something, I would probably feel very differently because I'd want, especially if it was like 7 or 8 or sometimes 9 kids at a table for some of those after school programs. Like I would want it to go as fast as possible. I'd be like,
Right.
every single person get on your little Chromebook. All right, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, so it also like is a little bit of that. Yeah, I don't know. I think
Like, and there's a difference in my mind. If you're talking about an 8 or 9-year-old, I want as much help as possible. If we're talking 12 or 13, now that's like we can actually start learning complex concepts and
right,
you
but
know.
like a 9-year-old is expected to write a 5-paragraph essay, like in school. By that point, like I mean, not right away, but like that's generally the beginning of like 4th grade, and that's one of the 4th grade standards. So if they're expected to do research projects, you know, get all that data together, then write like a 5-paragraph essay that's organized. Like I feel like at that point they should be able to then
Well, I
parse
think
out. I don't know.
they can, but if your kid is not writing 5-paragraph essays for fun, like
Right.
I was,
Yeah.
then like I was writing short stories in my old, spiral bound notebooks.
Yeah.
If they're not that kid,
Yeah.
then giving them the game that is math and writing
Yes.
like that might not engage. I think a lot of kids are not going to engage with it at that level at first.
Yeah, and I
right?
do think a lot of them ask to play D&D when they mean I want to play a tabletop RPG.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I want to tell a story together
Yeah.
with a few rules.
Yeah. I think excuse me. Yeah, I feel like there are things that are a little bit easier to access. That like PBTA games. I'd now honestly PBTA games I think might be a little bit too loose. It kind of depends on the kid. There's some kids who do great with creativity. If you're like, hey, just tell me what you want to do, and then like we'll do it. There's some kids who don't like that. They want to be able to look down and like, this is my power. I'm using this specific power. And not every PBTA game is designed that way. I think that gosh, I had one in my head. There's Hero Kids, which I've run a couple times, which is for much younger kids. If you're running for like 6, 7, 8-year-olds, that's a great fantasy fighting alternative that is literally designed for kids. And like the character sheets are even coloring sheets. So they've got like stuff to do like while it's not their turn and stuff. It's really well designed for that. So yeah, I feel like, and I've always felt personally like my advice when you're like, hey, what should I run for people is find a setting they already know a lot about so that they're not learning the
Yeah.
world and
Yeah.
the mechanics at the same time.
Yeah, if they're asking about D&D because they watched the Critical Role animated series,
Yeah.
look up Exandria and set something there for them because that's what they're excited about.
Mm-hmm.
And also just I can imagine the listening audience is screaming into their pillow right now. Chat makes an excellent point. Of course 9-year-olds have been playing D&D since the 70s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I get it, but those 9-year-olds were that was a special type of kid. With the right, like not all 12-year-olds sat down with Shadowrun First Edition.
Right.
Like that was an unusual kid,
Mm-hmm.
and I was, right? So like if you're trying to maybe introduce the hobby to your kid and they're not like they don't know it or they don't know about it, they're like, wait, what do you do with your friends at the table? Like if they're not already excited about it because they haven't been seeing you play, it can be a lot of front loading. If you're saying, here, try my hobby with me,
Mm-hmm.
your kid's like, okay.
That's a very, very different. Yeah, I think that's just don't do that.
Yeah.
Like let them have their own organic interest.
Yeah.
Because the minute you make them do it, they will never want to do it again. Even if they somewhere inside want to do it, it will take so much longer. So much longer. Like from experience, I know as the super like stubborn, I will never become a teacher. My parents are teachers. Everyone says I should be a teacher. I will not be a teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have like.
I was on that arc as well.
Yeah. Eventually, I got there, but
I want to put a plug in for TTRPGkids.com.
Yeah.
Just,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Great source for reviews of TTRPGs that you can play with your kids.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just and a lovely person running it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. They do some really good programs for fundraising and stuff too.
Yeah. I would also.
Yes.
Yeah. Really think about your kids' strengths, honestly. Like I have parent-teacher conferences coming up this week, so honestly, think about your kids' strengths. If they're really great at math, pick a system that leans into math a little bit so that they might like and enjoy that. If it is something where if reading is hard for them, there are character sheets out there that are almost every single system has alternative fan-made character sheets that are often 90% of the time better than the ones that the actual publishers came up with. As a publisher, it makes me mad because people are like, hey, I made a character sheet for your game, and wow, that's beautiful. I never thought about it like that. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. Ow. But
Yep, laid out in a completely different way that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, exactly. So check that out online. A lot of time they're free to download, and that can completely change how a kid's able to access the game in a lot of different ways. For Savage Worlds, they also have a lot of play mats and stuff like that. I remember Savage Worlds, the first time I played it, just seemed like it was written by space aliens in a different language, and I had no idea. I was like, cool, this is so weird. And then like, I think it was Stork printed out these little mats for us. And I
Mhm.
looked down and suddenly I was able to put the dice on this little mat. It had little pictures with it. And I was like, oh, I suddenly get this perfectly. I understand just
Yeah.
from this one visual thing, like exactly how to play this game now.
Yeah.
So there's so many little things you can do. And, kids can do hard things. Like I have seen kids do academically amazing things, but also kids' lives aren't easy. So if they have the drive to do something, like, give them the benefit of the doubt.
Oh yeah. If they come in asking for something,
Yeah.
that's I was trying to balance between like some kids are gonna ask to learn how to play this, and then some kids are gonna be like, is that what is that?
Yeah.
You know, like
For sure. But like if they see you play D&D or if they see you play Vampire or whatever it is.
oh god, I hope not.
And they, hopefully they're not watching the whole game, but if they know that's what you play, there's always that they want a way of connecting with you. And that may be what's at the root of it, curiosity to play too, but also to have that experience shared with you. So it, like Chris's example of doing riff stuff is a great example of, like, you can probably run a vampire game. You'd have to like clean it up a lot, but if you're making it up whole cloth, you can have vampire superhero or whatever it ends up being for someone who's younger. But don't feel like you have to find a kid designed, a system designed for kids. If your kid is very specifically interested in doing what you do with you,
Sure.
that is a huge motivator.
And don't underestimate their capacity for emotional difficulty.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And math, like
And math.
Yeah, like, I know it sounds silly, but I like there's been a lot of talk of education and stuff online this week, and yeah, like especially in the United States, like our literacy rate is not great. All these things, the more that we can, excuse me again, get these little fun things. And honestly, I think a lot of it is, now I love being online. I love digital things. I'm a total nerd. But because we are starting to pull away at all these things that kids used to do, that not just D&D, but like, comic books, actual real comic books and things like that, as we're losing like this paper media and these interactive spaces for kids and stuff like that, I think there's a lot being lost that is having, radiating out into other things like education. So I think if you can get your kids, and it can be reading the rules on D&D Beyond or whatever it is, but the more you can get them into doing all these things, the more it will help them and build their strengths. I'm an example of this. When we first started doing APs, I got really nervous and I would be terrible at adding dice. Like, no matter what system I was playing, like, I literally would sit there and like, okay, I can't, and someone else would say what it was. I'm like, okay, thank you. But like, I've gotten so much faster at adding dice just because of the pressure of doing it on camera over all these years.
Interesting.
Like, it's just one of those things that was like, okay, now I can like add
A
things.
little bit of
super
adrenaline, and you're
Yeah, and people get better at things that they do. So if your kids are adding dice or multiplying things or whatever they're doing, or recognizing numbers, like there's different systems where you're looking for matching systems, like in Wild Talents and stuff like that. Like, all those things are skills
don't
will make
do
them...
Wild Talents. don't do that.
All of those are things that will make them and build these foundational skills that are super important for success in life and also school.
Yeah.
Thank you. I will now get off my soapbox about using TTRPGs for education. Thank you and good night. No.
No one's disagreeing with you.
I know. But that's also makes my rant a little bit excessive because no one's disagreeing and I just kept going.
Well.
All right.
I think we've solved all of the world's problems.
Yeah, go us.
Again.
All right. Then I guess we will go ahead and close it out. Thank you for joining us for season 34, episode 19 of the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. Please support our amazing indie designer of the month, Chris Sellers, they, them, of Hectic Electron Games. And you can find their work at hecticelectron.com. Check out Defy the Gods, that is going to be kickstarting early next year. And seriously, go check out the art. It's very cool, high fantasy, but also sexy. It's very good. Thank you to our chat mod, James V, and to our amazing Patreons who keep us ad-free and independent. It's because of you we don't have to get ads or sponsorships from anybody, and we can be totally honest and silly and jerks and whatever we want to be. My name is Kimmy.
I'm Eli.
I'm Carnivorous Plants. Chris?
Oh, yes, and I'm Chris. Thank you.
Awesome.
Like
Yeah.
line.
Does anyone have stuff they want to plug before we leave them with a song?
Oh, well, I'm in one of those, the new game Die on Friday mornings, Pacific time.
Return to Rayless is the name.
Yes, Return to Rayless. It's a lot of fun, and I really hope people will come and join us. Also going up on the One Shots playlist for Happy Jacks is our Outgunned episode that we did last week because somebody couldn't make it. So we played a different game, and Outgunned is super fun. It was my first time playing it. I think it was almost everybody. No, Noir and Sam had played. Vixie and I had not.
Yeah.
And so it was a good mix of how does this work? Oh, this is, just seeing how it all comes together was really, really fun. So I was glad to have that opportunity. So I hope people will check that out.
Yep. Cool. Chris, did you have anything else you wanted to plug?
I mean, that's all I got is Wrecking Sky Pirates and Defy the Gods. But if you go check out that quick start document that you can get through hapticalectron.com, there's a form you can fill out to let me know how it was to play it.
Awesome. Very cool.
Cool.
All right. So today we're going to leave you with a song called Longer Than Life, which is about beer, and it is by the world famous Poxy Boggards. You can find them and their music at poxyboggards.com. Thank you all so much, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
I'd rather have longer than life. I'll take a strong stout over stride. I'd prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail, so bring me lager for life.
I'd rather have whiskey than wealth, for riches bring thieves of great stealth. The wealthy drink wine and on pheasant they dine, but give me a keg and a fine turkey leg, and I'll eat, drink, and toast to your health.
I'd rather have lager than life. I'll take a strong stout over stride. I'd prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail, so bring me lager for life.
I'd rather have beer than have fame, for drinking's a much safer game. Though bravery's a virtue that warfare can urge you, let other men fight while I drink every night and gain a less sober acclaim.
I'd rather have lager than life. I'll take a strong stout over stride. I'd prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail, so bring me lager for life.
I'll take good ale over girls. They titter and play with their curls. Young women complain and cause me great pain, but with ale as my mate, I'll thank God for my fate while I give her a necklace of pearls.
I'd rather have lager than life. I'll take a strong stout over stride. I'd prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail, so bring me lager for life. I'd rather have lager than life. I'll take a strong stout over stride. I'd prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail, so bring me lager for life. I'd rather have lager than life. I'll take a strong stout